So in nutshell, let me say in various parlance, discrimination is there. We cannot deny it. Ladies and gentlemen, this discrimination stems from the premise that we are in an uneven world. Everything is not well in this world. And this unevenness takes its round to various issues. Women discrimination, discrimination against caste, creed, color, so many things. And the focus of 12th Fifth Plan that speaks about 3 E's: excellence, equity, and expansion. It can be other way around: expansion, equity, then excellence. And this issue is very much coming under the purview of equity. And issues are many. Many ideas have come up probably to address the issues we are facing in the area of women empowerment and prevention of this discrimination. Look, this society cannot be unjust. And the universities, to whom in my language I say they are the guardian of the humanistic tradition of a nation, has to take some decisive measure to prevent such kind of things and address the issues in its totality. I remember, not exactly, ma'am, probably you can correct me if I am wrong, probably it was from Mundaka Upanishad, a small Sanskrit verses that says, Yatra pujyate nari tatraha ramyante devata. यहाँ तक भी बात कही गई है कि जहाँ नारी की पूजा की जाती है वहाँ देवताओं की विचरण होती है. क्या ये बात हमें रिमाइंड नहीं करता कि सिविलाइजेशन की जो शुरुआत ये महिलाओं से होती है. आई टेक प्राइड फॉर माई मदर. वी वर ए फादर फ्रेंडली फैमिली. My father has never forced us for any kind of study or anything else, but it was my mother who disciplined us, जिन्होंने वाकई जिंदगी जीना सिखाया. और इंटरेस्टिंग पार्ट ये है, आज उन लोगों को डिसीजन मेकिंग प्रोसेस में हिस्सा लेने की दूर की बात है, बहुत सारी चीज़ों से हम डिप्राइव रखते हैं एंड हम उनको इक्वल नहीं मानते. व्हाट ए रिडिकुलस आइडिया इट इज. हम उनको इक्वल नहीं मानते. किस बात की इक्वलिटी? अभी लेटेस्ट जो बात मैं आपको बता रहा हूं, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा व्हेन आई गॉट दिस न्यूज दैट सम ऑफ द लेडी members, they have been introduced to our armed forces. They are becoming pilots और फाइटर एयरक्राफ्ट चलाते हैं, कमांडोज बन की लड़ाई करते हैं. सभी एस्पेक्ट में बहुत सारी चीज़ें ऐसे हैं जो मेल शायद नहीं कर सकते हैं एंड वी कैन नॉट एक्सपेक्ट ऑल्सो. और सब कुछ चीज़ें करने के बावजूद भी सोसाइटी बिकम्स अनजस्ट एंड अनफेयर टू देम. ये बात कुछ अच्छे नहीं लगते. आई एक्सपेक्ट दिस गैलेक्सी ऑफ इंटेलेक्चुअल्स to really have a structured discourse, deliberate on the issues, the themes, sub-themes designed by Madam Murtaza. Let me claim I have no contribution, otherwise principally in all of my workshops and seminars and everything, I am a hard task master. My colleague is here and I think probably one of our old colleague and friend, he knows me. मेरे एरिया में मैं वाकई एक हार्ड टास्क मास्टर होने की कोशिश करता हूं और प्रिसीशन कितने रहता है ये मैं बता नहीं सकता हूं, लेकिन मैं प्रिसीशन होने की कोशिश करता हूं कि कहीं गलती ना हो. इसकी एक उदाहरण आपको देना चाहूँगा और ये शायद जिस इशू में हम बात करना चाहते हैं इससे भी वो फिट बैठेगा. मैनी ऑफ यू मस्ट बी फेमिलियर विथ द एरर्स इन रिसर्च. अल्फा 1 एरर, अल्फा एरर एंड बीटा एरर. हम उसको कई बार टाइप 1 एरर, टाइप 2 एरर बोलते हैं. एक बार मैंने मेरा जो गुरुजी जिनके साथ मैंने पीएचडी किया, बहुत नॉलेजियस पर्सन, आई ओ ए ग्रेट सेंस ऑफ ग्रेटफुलनेस टू हिम फॉर मेकिंग मी टुडे व्हाट आई एम। गुरुजी को हमने पूछा कि सर आप एक तरह से इस सोसाइटी की जो अनजस्ट, जो फेयर नहीं है, वो सब इश्यूज को के खिलाफ लड़ाई करने की आप हमें सलाह देते हैं, और दूसरी तरफ से हम देख रहे हैं कि समाज व्यवस्था की इस बुराइयों के साथ जब हम लड़ने की तैयारी करते हैं, उसमें मैक्सिमम लोग तो इसी बुराई में हैं, थक जाते हैं और सोसाइटी में हमारी आइडेंटिटी हम लूज कर जाते हैं। उन्होंने एक बहुत अच्छे शब्दों में बताया, बोला यू आर ए रिसर्चर। लेट मी कोट एन एग्जाम्पल, जो सेम एग्जाम्पल आज आपके सामने मैं शेयर कर रहा हूं। ननमाई जो टाइप 1 एरर है, उसको हम भयंकर एरर नहीं मानते हैं। टाइप 2 एरर इज द मोस्ट डेंजरस एरर। द रिसर्चर हैज टू eliminate that error and minimize it to the maximum extent. Type 1 error means rejecting the right hypothesis, right assumption. But type 2 error is accepting a wrong one. Think it and tell me, what is the dangerous error? When you have committed the mistake of rejecting the right hypothesis, still you have a chance. You can reconsider. So that mistake, that error is not a dangerous error and a riskful error. But type 2 error is the dangerous one. Why? Because you have reached at the dead end where you have nowhere to go, and your decision making process not largely, totally affected by this error, which may ultimately end you in a wrong result. So therefore, we have to balance. Type 1 error has to be kept at a minimum level, and we must try as far as possible to eliminate the type 2 error. That is what, ladies and gentlemen, the perspective what I am trying to put before you is that change is the most unchangeable thing on this earth, but it comes very slowly. Most of you people are from social science background probably. You must understand the equilibriums of change, equilibrium theory, and how the changes occurs in the society. In many of the articles, last 1 month around, I have been given the responsibility of editing University News also. Let me tell you, once one writer writes, change is occurring in a cruising speed. Right? लिखने के लिए, सुनने के लिए बात तो अच्छा लगता है, but I don't think any change comes in a cruising speed. I simply contradict. Right? But anyway, it was the idea of the author, so I don't have any right to change it grossly. But anyway, my perspective is कि ये जो change जिसको हम expect कर रहे हैं, it cannot come overnight. We have to penetrate, we have to stimulate the rigid mentality of our society, people, then only some change can be expected. बहुत सारी बातें था शेयर करने के लिए, लेकिन समय की कमी है. लेकिन एज आई टोल्ड यू लिटिल बिट अबाउट माई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, एसोसिएशन ऑफ इंडियन यूनिवर्सिटीज, established in 1924. Basically, a group of foreign scholars, they came to India, and while working with the Indian academia, they found that we Indians are best in working individually, independently. Giving a group task, we always fail because we pull each other's leg. There was no agreeable claim, or in their language, they defined that in the Indian scholars, there is no agreeable claimor, right? So we need to create a think tank body that will coordinate, articulate the issues in higher education and make these scholars work in tandem. That was the genesis for which the Lord Ripon, Lord Curzon was probably the viceroy. He called a meeting of the vice chancellors at Simla. There were only few universities, and the Association of Indian University was conceived in the name of Inter-University Board of India and Shillong, and the basic objective it was vested with, it was given to decide the equivalence of degrees, mutual recognition of degrees of these universities, because the universities, they were working in isolation. the degree given by one university was not being recognized by the other university. What is happening in one university was not known to other universities. So that was the basic idea. This organization was started. And let me tell you, this organization has a distinct feature of being one of the very, very distinguished organization in the world in two terms, which no other world university associations do not do. That is, number one, no other university association is directly connecting to the students. AIU does it. Number one. Number two, it is probably the largest university association in the world, और किसी के पास इतने membership नहीं है जितने हमारे पास हैं. And third significant feature, Association of Indian University is a think tank body. People many times compare it with the University Grants Commission. University Grants Commission is a different kind of body. It is a sovereign body to Government of India. It has to act upon the decision. It has to only implement the decisions of the Government of India, right? But AIU is a think tank body. We provide, because Vice Chancellor, Honorable Vice Chancellors are our members, and nobody other than the Vice Chancellor cannot be at the exalted position in the academics, right? So we have the forum of the Vice Chancellor. Any issue happens, latest new education policy, we were given several tasks. One of the most important tasks, as you know, this globalization is taking place in a rapid manner. Students, migration, mobility of students, mobility of teachers, and so many other facets of globalization has been witnessed. And we were asked, since long you have been dealing with the issues of internationalization of higher education, so please give us some input to devise the policies for accelerating the pace of internationalization. And we organized a consultative meeting, national consultative meeting in Pune University, in collaboration with Pune University, and we gave the input to ministry, and that is going to be now the policies included in the new education policies. Similarly, from this forum, what I expect is that after a structured discourse and deliberation, churning out of ideas, whatever the output will be spinned out, that will be helping us for devising the policies on higher education. Or at the end, I have, as I introduced myself belonging from a Sanskrit gharana, I can share you a beautiful Sanskrit verse with you. Kindly इसको attention थोड़ा दीजिए. नालिनी दलगत जलमपि तरलम, नालिनी दलगतः जलमपि तरलम, नालिनी दलगत जलमपि तरलम, तावत जनमति अतिशय चपलम, क्षणमपि संगति सजन रेखा, भवति भवान्नवे तारणे नौका. इसका मतलब है, नलिनी कमल का एक पत्ता पानी के ऊपर फ्लोट कर रहा है, और उसके ऊपर एक छोटा सा स्मॉल ड्रॉप ऑफ वाटर फ्लोट हो रहा है, हिल रहा है. The life of that drop of water is so fragile, so volatile. At any given point of time, it may drop into the water and the life ends there. ऐसा ही मनुष्य के मति, जीवन भी और मति भी, चल चंपल, चल चल चपल जिसको कहते हैं. आई एम नॉट वेरी गुड कन्वर्सेंट इन हिंदी. सो ऐसे ही स्थिति में अगर कुछ सज्जन गुणी लोगों का संगत लाभ किया जाए, दिस विल बी हेल्पिंग यू जस्ट लाइक ए स्मॉल बोट टू क्रॉस द ओशन ऑफ नॉलेज ऑफ ओशन कहिए या ओशन ऑफ नॉलेज कहिए, जो ज्ञान रूप के समुंदर को पारी करने के लिए ये एक छोटा सा नौका जैसे आपको मददगार साबित होगी. विथ दिस फ्यू वर्ड्स, और आप सभी लोगों को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देते हुए और एक अच्छा डिस्कोर्स और एक प्लेजेंट मेमोरी यहाँ से लेते हुए जाते हुए मैं विश करते हुए आप लोगों को मेरे वाणी को विराम देना चाहूँगा. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. जय हिंद, नमस्कार.
Thank you, Dr. Pani. It was indeed a great treat for all of us. We seek the association of, it will be an opportunity to know whatever she conveys to us, being as a senior amongst us. Listening will be a privilege. We are thankful for having amongst us Professor Sheila Kaushik, I now take the opportunity to invite her to address us as a keynote speaker. Thank you, madam. Please join us.
Seem to think I'm great, but which I'm not. Friends, colleagues, future protagonists of what could be women's empowerment, and my old colleague, respected Vice Chancellor, old colleague from Delhi University, I take pride in that fact that all along my life of 40 years plus career, one place I served, Delhi University. Joined as an assistant lecturer, not professor, assistant lecturer, and retired, what a scholar or a teacher can reach professorship, and retired. Still associated in many ways with Delhi University. So I'm very happy to be here in the Urdu University of Hyderabad, with which I've been once again very happily associated in many ways, including representing UGC once or twice, particularly with the Center for Women's Studies, whose first meeting, or first advisory committee I had the honor of being a member, at which time I met Shahida. I still remember the biryani I eat at that time, which Shahida organized it. I also remember some of my old colleagues in the Center for Women's Studies at this university who are no longer there. I miss her every time when I come here and ask. First I asked about her, then now I mourn about her. So all very pleasant and sometimes little sad memories when I reach Urdu University. But I'm very, very happy I'm back here once again because the last I came, perhaps not for small things, but for a big seminar, which was on capacity building of women managers of UGC, a program of UGC, where we recruited, trained, had her as a resource person, and finally made her organize it as a coordinator. Saneem Fatima was around, and I remember my memories, and I remember my friendship, and cherish my friendship with all these persons of this university forever and ever. I'm in touch with them, even otherwise. Happy occasions of Eid, I'm able to share it with them, and get from them wishes for a Diwali. So both ways it goes, and so I'm once again being here, and I'm very happy about this workshop because it has come, not me, I don't know about university, but for India, it has come as a very shot in the arm. For almost 3 years, 4 years now in India, the women's studies have really been dumped, but it refuses to die. It has been dumped by all the authorities, not merely just one. University authorities, UGC authorities, HRD authorities, international authorities. We can think in terms of anyone who has been sponsoring, supporting, helping us in women's studies in the past, suddenly seem to be totally exhausted about women's issues. As you feel exhausted about considering, thinking, and projecting women's studies in the wider world in India, and perhaps in the world, but in India definitely, the issues of women are increasing manifold. They're changing in their nature, but they are becoming worse. Worse or better, the issues have always been bad, so you can make a comparison relatively, historically, but at least we find every day in the newspaper, now nobody reads newspaper, except for the first half a page, not even full page. First half a page where you perhaps get some what they call a national news, which is very often North Indian news, very often Delhi news, not even a North Indian news. The rest, half of the first page and the rest of the pages, they're all about the various types of criminal issues against women in various parts of India and the world. The only news which the newspapers project about women are the rape, molestation, kidnapping, abandoning, violence, murder from unknown and unexpected sources. This is what we read in the newspapers. Nothing else. Many men, even many women, do not anymore even have the patience to read them. They just pass it on. Yehi hota hai, rape, molestation hi hota hai. About 10 years back, I, leave alone others, I would never mention the word rape. I'll never say publicly the word rape, because it was a very, very difficult word to use. It sort of go into you and find, you have to collect your courage to come out the words. We will only say something happened to her, something was done to her, some injustice was done to her, some violence was done to her. Today, a child of 3 years old, a 5 years old, is able to mention that word. My grandkids who are studying in elementary classes are coming out saying about rape. They're talking about it. Girls of 3 years and 3 months are being raped and molested. And the newspapers flare it just like 3 months old, 6 months old, 9 months old, 8 years old. This is what is happening to us. So what is happening? Where are we? We started so many years back, one of the few countries in the world where the women's movement was the strongest. Every country acknowledged us. All the Western countries acknowledged us as the country where the maximum amount of women's movement, women's consciousness is taking place in India. Maximum amount of women's studies were coming out, not in big volumes, but in small articles or notes or whatever you talk in terms of, was coming out. 1975, when we went to the first Mexico conference, the Indian women delegation dominated the Mexican conference, the conference Decade for Women. From that time to the Beijing conference of 1995, to which Shahida referred, Indian contingent was really dominating. Issues, very many issues which the West came out with, is the Indian contingent which took the strong attitude and faced it squarely and defeated it. What the developed countries said, the developing countries like Africa, Latin America, and Asia, led by Indian women scholars and activists, opposed, nullified it in the United Nations documents. The final document of Beijing platform was drafted by the Indian contingent led by our Indian Secretary for Women and Child Development, Sarla Gopalan. She led the drafting. Not only our English is good, but our thinking process is also good, backed by a strong women's movement and data in India. So you find at the end of it, many of those who worked with me are gone off. 1 or 2 of us have still managed to survive, to look back and see what has happened in the past 40 years in India, or more, even more than 40 years. And what is it we are finding? There is the biggest disappointment which has come to all of us is the fact that our political authorities, our state, has given up women's issues as a no good issue, no need issue. There's no need to give money. There's no need to give support. You started some institutions in 2000 and earlier, 1998 in fact. No, even 1987 in fact. The Delhi University Center came up in 1987. Before that itself, the women's movement was strong enough. Today, they find there is no need for it. I'll accept that. I'll accept that there is no need for a women's studies center. There's no need to have women's workshops. There's no need to meet together and collectively think about it anymore. If the use for all this is outdated, outlived, and the women really have attained a position of what you call justice. I put justice first, and equality. Have we reached that point? Have reached that point of justice and equality where we can give up, these outfits are no longer needed, they are all just tokenisms, that they are just waste of the resources. Actually, the women have gone past that stage. Do our data prove it? Do our women look like that? Are they in all positions of decision making, Shahida referred to, and authority everywhere where they can direct, monitor the policies, so that whether it is really going in for women or not? If we have reached that stage, yes, we have outlived all these official policies. We are talking about the national policy of education, which is going to again come up, I guess. I had the fortune of being one of those who were associated with the, thousands of them, not merely me, associated with the formulation of 1986 National Policy of Education, Narasimha Rao. I still remember the days in which we were excited, the interest which was shown by the Prime Minister of our country at that time, and by the HRD Minister at that time. The one word which the HRD Minister Narasimha Rao was bothered with, refused to accept from us, asked again and again and again, what's the meaning of the word empowerment which you have used? In the National Policy of Education, there is a word, women's studies will function as a tool for social engineering, for bringing about the empowerment of women. Narasimha Rao will not accept that word empowerment. He asked Anil Bodia, who is a secretary, what do you mean by this empowerment? Anil Bodia ran on a Sunday morning. We had a meeting of 4 persons. Veena Mazumdar was leading it, and came and said, please tell me what do you mean